Hi.
How are you?
Oh my
I'm
God, where
excited.
are you? What's behind you? What's happening? I love this.
What's behind me is a project of mine that
Wait,
I've
is this tricking
uploaded.
my eye?
Yeah, it's uploaded as a virtual backdrop. Do you want to
Oh
see where I
my
really
God, I
am?
need that.
You can just go choose virtual. You don't need that though, because you have a nice backdrop. But I'm in my son's bedroom right now because the acoustics are better here
Yeah.
than my office because we've got these soaring like 12-foot metal ceilings and it's just a nightmare there. So I uploaded. It's my design though, so it's not like I
No,
just
I
use
love
stock
it.
imagery. But look, this. If
Can I
I
just
do
say, I think you
none,
were doing the arches before they became the thing.
I
Oh my
know
God,
it's
that's so funny.
annoying
I love
though.
it. That's real
It's
life
an
though. I won't show you
it's
what's behind my
annoying.
screen right now. 'Cause
Eh, no,
I'm in
this
my
is like
living room.
he's got something taped. He's got like a hanger taped to the door. Like I don't
I
know.
know they
Don't
ruin
ask.
the cutest faces.
I know. I said to him the other day, I was like, honey, it's September. We're going back to school. We're going to have to like really do a cleanup of your room. We don't want you to become a
Yeah,
hoarder.
so
It's
funny.
bad. It's like Lego
I
City
know.
in
So
here.
I've been like purging all of the boy stuff like the last few weeks of just getting ready. And I'm like, I
Good
don't
for
know
you
where
though.
they like the amount of rocks that I have found. Like,
Oh my God.
why? Like, why do we need to bring the rocks inside? We have a rock
Totally.
patio. Like, we don't need rocks in the
Oh
house.
my
I
God.
have
Yeah.
jars
Or
of
like
rocks and
sit.
like feathers. I'm gonna get,
Yeah. Oh my
I
God.
don't know. I can't handle it.
Well,
Boys.
and you've got like all boys too. Like I don't even know. I only have
So
one
many. I have like
boy.
100.
My daughter is so different. It's
Is she?
crazy. Yeah.
Don't tell me.
Anyway.
I can't be stressed about it anymore.
But you know what? Then they have boy energy to play with. Like my son has boy energy, and my daughter is like having none of it.
That's
So
so
it's nice that
funny.
your guys have playmates.
Oh yeah, I don't have to entertain them. We were just away for most of the summer, which was amazing.
Amazing.
So we were traveling to see family, and like they didn't miss play dates. Like they didn't miss having any of that experience because they are like a built-in little posse. It was really
Totally.
cute.
I
Yeah.
love it. There's a mom at our school. She has 4 kids, 2 boys, 2 girls. And she always says, she doesn't ever do play dates with other families. Like we always invite her because he's in my son's class, but he can never come. And she's like, I'm like a built-in birthday party. Like I don't need to go anywhere. I don't need to coordinate. Like I've got enough just with my crew.
It's so true. Like it literally is like a party or a preschool classroom at my house, is what I like to joke about.
Oh my
It's
gosh.
insane. And it's
Okay.
good because they can all like go out and play together and you don't have to worry about them.
I mean, we definitely have to mention the fact that you're a mom of five boys, because the amount that you can accomplish while having that many children is like honestly remarkable.
I mean, luckily they're in school, right? And in daycare for our youngest who's going to preschool in a week. I'm so excited. One drop off, no more daycare bill, which is thrilling. I feel like we've hit like a turning point. I'm excited.
Oh my
Yeah.
God,
So
so exciting.
I have high expectations for all the things I can accomplish, but I'm learning to like put those more in line with what is reality. I've
Amazing.
done a lot of work
Good.
on that this past year.
Oh my God. Well, let's talk about that. I just want to have a great conversation. I know we had like a little WhatsApp chat yesterday. So obviously I want people to hear this and be like, I need power of process, but I don't want it to be just about like POP,
Yeah.
right? Like, let's just talk about your business and the
I mean, it
transformation.
always leads back to POP because that's really the start for me, honestly.
Perfect. Amazing. Okay. So I'm going to hit record and we're just going to dive in.
Okay.
You know how it goes.
Excellent.
It's already recording. I'm going to clap.
Oh,
And I'm still recovering from my cold. So if I mute, I'll probably mute myself from time to time,
okay.
just because I don't want you guys to hear me coughing.
All right.
Here we go.
All right. I'm Rebecca Hay, and I've built a successful interior design business by trial and error, podcasts, online courses, and so many freaking books. Over the last decade, I've grown from an insecure student to having false starts to careers, and now I'm finally in the place where I want to be. Throughout my journey, it's been pretty obvious that I'm passionate about business and helping other entrepreneurs do the same. Each week, I'll share tangible takeaways from my own experience and the experiences of other badass women to help you build your confidence and change your business.
Welcome back to the podcast, Jocelyn. I'm thrilled to have you here again.
Thanks, Rebecca, for having me. I always love to chat with you. You know that.
This is so fun. It's so exciting. I mean, I think you're probably the first designer or POP alumni that I've had on the podcast twice. And I also had the opportunity to hang out with at High Point Market. So I've actually been able to meet you and get to know you in human form, which is so rare these days. So I'm just really excited to have our conversation today.
I'm excited. That was an epic trip. I am looking forward to reliving it in the fall.
I know. Anyways, we'll talk about that offline. I'm still trying to figure out how I can make it happen. But I'm just excited because I've been watching your journey from behind the screen, from behind the Instagram squares, from behind the WhatsApp, from behind all the Zoom calls. And it's just, honestly, I really feel like a mama bear. Like, I feel so proud to see how far you've come, but it's just so amazing to see. And I have really nothing to do with it. It's all you. You've put in all the work, but it's just so amazing to see a designer flourish and transform legitimately as much as you have in a relatively short time.
Yeah, it has been a wild and crazy few years. It's been amazing. And in your words, like, I've learned so freaking much just since I've taken the power of process and like through this whole thing. It's really been incredible. And we rarely, I think when you're in it, you sort of don't stop and reflect back and think about it. So as I was thinking about prepping for the podcast, right, I was like, wow, there's been a lot of things that have happened and changed and shifted in the last few years. And it's really exciting. And I really feel like I've got my groove. I have a lot of clarity around my business, and I feel like my vision is sort of clear, like going forward. So I'm really excited about that.
Okay, so I want to hear all the things, but why don't we start at the beginning? Because it's helpful for designers listening to understand, like, where were you when you first started out? I mean, a transformation is only a transformation if you start in one place and you end up in a different place. So why don't you walk us through the beginnings of your business, and what sort of caused the change to begin, really?
So I started out in design. I founded August Oliver Interiors in the middle of 2015. And I was doing a lot of consulting. I was doing some mood boards and designs. And I won't totally rehash everything because it's in our first episode together, but it was really, it wasn't that full service construction and decorating and really like to the scale of the way that I'm doing things now. And that's what I always wanted to do. That's what I was always trying to do. And I really didn't know how to push my clients to that point or how to sell the importance of that full service design. And so taking power of process was literally the first investment I ever made in my business. And I was at the beginning, we're so, as designers, you're so interested in like the visual, right? Like, what's my logo? What are my brand colors? Should I have marketing? Should my Instagram be this way? Should I invest in that first? Or should you invest in, this course about process? Like, much less sexy to talk about process than to talk about brand colors. And so power process, at that point, I really decided like things had to shift. I wanted to actually make money, right? I have 5 kids, so I need to make money. But I also wanted...
You kind of breezed over that. Can you say that again? How many children do you have?
I have 5 boys.
5 boys under the age of what?
My oldest is about to turn 10. So from almost 10 to 3 is my youngest.
I just feel like that's worth mentioning because anyone who has any children knows that throwing kids into the mix makes everything that much more complicated.
Definitely. But that's also why I'm in business for myself, right? Sort of have that flexibility and to sort of build the life that you sort of want to have. So I was doing a lot of consulting projects, not the ones that were like really lighting me up inside, right? It was giving people the plan, helping them sort of execute it along the way, managing some of the construction pieces of it, but it just didn't feel right. Like I wasn't super excited about it. It felt like it was more of a job. And I'm really passionate about working with clients and transforming their spaces. These little moments in life, I feel like are sort of what build those core memories and can really change how you feel each day. And so I feel like I wasn't able to do that with the way that I was working before. So I made the decision to join Power of Process. And that was sort of the beginning of all of it. Tons of clarity, just the confidence to go through it. and it's been a process, right? Like when I took Power Process, it was, I came out of it with a different ideal client. My billing structure was different. All of the things were different. And they've evolved since then, but it was a huge game changer for me.
So when did you so you started your business in 2015, and when did you take the course?
2021, February.
2021. Okay. So you've been in business for about 5 years, just over 5 years, I guess, at that point.
Yep.
Yeah. And
I like to say, like, I was in business, but was I treating it more like a hobby, right? Like there's a difference between doing something and you think it's a business until you really start acting like you have a business and treating it like a business. Yeah. So I feel like during Power Process, that was a real shift for me. Understanding that you can do what you love, you can be passionate about what you're doing, and you can also make money, because that's the goal.
Yeah. Yeah. And we talk about that inside the course and on this podcast, that idea that just because we have this intrinsic talent and we're good at what we do, we sometimes take that for granted, and we don't value that skill. We don't value that service that we offer as much as really we should. And so we undercharge, we bend over backwards for clients, we do things their way, we follow their process. And as a result, we don't make a ton of money, and we're stressed, we're tired, it feels chaotic. Like those are all the things that come with, I think, starting out as a creative, wanting to run a business, but then not really having the business tools.
Right. Exactly. Yes. We've, thinking back to my $65 consultation, where I would then send this like 5-page recap and tell them what wallpaper to put on the walls and what, paint sheen to use on what, I can't even believe it. So I think there is definitely a shift. You treat it like a business, and you'll see the evolution. You'll see the clients, you'll find that balance and sort of like your happy place with the business. So
$65. A $65 consultation. I had forgotten that, actually. That's amazing. How much do you charge for consultation now?
So now I only do an hour, and it's $225, and it's typically virtual.
Virtual only. Great. I love it.
If somebody wants me to come out, definitely. But the great thing recently is I've signed several bigger projects, and I haven't even had to go out for the consultation, which is really nice. And I think that's sort of, the next level client, right? That they know that they're ready to do a project. They've already sort of investigated you a little bit, followed you, checked you out, and heard from references. And they're doing sort of some of the legwork ahead of time. So it's not going into a consultation and trying to sell them by telling them where to move their coffee table. The consultations that I do now, it's much more about talking about the process, talking about what I can offer them and why they should choose me over somebody else. It's not about coming in and, shifting the sofa anymore.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Let's just pause there for a second. Cause first of all, I just want to give you massive kudos to coming so far from $65 and doing all that work.
And that was $65 for 2 hours. It was literally 2 hours.
My goodness. Probably don't even pay for the gas.
No, it doesn't.
Get there. At least not in Canada. So you're not in Canada, you're in Connecticut. So
still expensive.
I don't know what it costs there, but so you are doing a virtual, people are going to be like, what? Tell me more about this. This is amazing. I don't have to go to their house. So tell me about that. Like, when did you decide to make that transition of no, I don't need to go and prove myself. I'm using air quotes, and prove myself by showing them that they could remove this wall and that we could turn this nook into yada, yada, yada. What caused that sort of mental turning point? And was it difficult to make that decision, or did you just have the confidence out of the gate?
No. So I think, I have a friend who is, she's an amazing businesswoman, and she has always said, why can't you do things more virtually? Why, all these, and I was like, no, I have to be in the space. I have to see it. I have to feel it. And I think when you're doing this longer and you've seen a lot of spaces, and it doesn't matter what the space is, it's about the clients. For me, it's always been about the clients. I think so many people can come in and transform a room and have lots of ideas, but I think it's the connection with the clients. And I think if you can connect with them and show your value and what you're all about, it doesn't matter if this wall comes down or that wall. If you paint this wall blue, all of that can be worked on and shifted when you're starting the design phase. It's really about the connection, because it's like a project's not going to be successful no matter what ideas I have if I don't have that strong connection with the client, or if they don't have that respect for me or the trust in me to actually execute something. I don't think clients are actually potential clients are looking for all of the ideas. They're looking to find the person who they can actually trust to run with their ideas and tell them what will work best for them.
I love that. I love that. I love that. Designers, if you're listening, you need to earmark this, timestamp this, come back and re-listen to this segment over and over again as a reminder that you don't need to show them all your tricks and all your tools in order to convince them and sell them to hire you. I love that. I'm like so proud of you, woman. This is amazing. Okay, I can't wait to hear more. So you're doing a virtual consult, and you're getting to know the clients. What I like about that too, actually, is that you're that way. You're almost opening up the opportunity for projects that aren't in your city.
Definitely.
Right? Because people also are going to find you from anywhere across the continent.
Absolutely. And I think, my love of travel and, going different places. I would love and be open to projects in other areas. I actually this summer worked remotely during a few construction projects that I had in Connecticut, but I was in the Midwest and I was traveling around visiting family, friends, working. And I came back a few times to do site visits that were really important, but I was able to make that work. And it was just this shift that happened these past few years that I would have never done that if I didn't really lean into it and realize that you can manage the things, you can really be hands-on. You have that open communication, you have some strong trades that you can really lean into. So yeah, it's exciting. The virtual definitely opens up the opportunities. And also it allows me to really get a feel for the client. So my ideal client has shifted since I did Power of Process. It's less about their job or their income or their age range. Do they have kids or not kids? For me, what I have found, my ideal client, it's more about their vision for their home. How much do they buy into the fact that like a space can truly transform your life? Because for me, I am thinking about not just designing a kitchen. I'm thinking about all of the little moments that are going to happen in this kitchen once it's transformed. Making pancakes with your kids in the morning, having Thanksgiving dinner, making your coffee when you're by yourself and having that hour before anybody is in your space. I'm really designing a space for little moments to take place. And so I feel like you need the right type of client for that. You need someone who really does believe that having your coffee pods all organized in the drawer and right where they need to be and your really pretty coffee cups next to it, it just makes for an easier, happier experience and happier day. So my ideal client has shifted from sort of the standards that we would think about when you think about an ideal client, and really more about personality and their desires for their space.
I love that. And that's something too that I remember Andrea Freeman used to talk about, that this idea of like the dream client, not so much about the demographics. But that, I think that does take time. Like, I think it's interesting to hear you say that it has evolved even from the time you took Power of Process. I get a lot of students saying that exercise inside POP, I'm trying to call it POP and not POP because everyone calls it POP. And I'm like the only one who calls it POP.
Oh, I only call it POP.
Oh, shoot. Now I'm divided.
This must be a newbie thing.
Maybe it might be. Anyhow, but inside Power of Process, there's an exercise to help you kind of hone in on your ideal client. And everyone always says it's so powerful, but I love that you shared how that transforms and changes over time, but that also you've now really honed in on the traits, the like personality traits of that person. It's less about their neighborhood. It's less about how old they are or how many children they have. It's more about what they value. Definitely. And so how do you, for someone who's listening to this right now and is like, well, that's nice, Jocelyn, that you're able to do that, but how do you discern if it's the right client for you? Like, what are the red flags you look for, or what is it that stands out that makes you realize this is the right client?
Oh gosh, I feel like, and I think you've talked about this in Power of Process, I think you really have to like listen to your intuition, go with your gut. I do think if you start to practice this. And I never did any sort of like woo woo, any of this stuff until you, that I remember sitting down for that first thing in power process and like, oh, I have to close my eyes and envision like what my future business looks like. I like peeked open my eyes because I couldn't actually do the exercise because it felt so awkward to me. But I think that the more you sort of practice these things and you think about them and you just have to trust your gut. And I feel like I really do connect well with my ideal clients. And it almost feels like that instant thing. It's almost like love at first sight. Like it just hits you and it's hard to avoid. And I think if you're trying to make something work too hard, it means you're going to be making it work for the whole project. And some of these projects last for 2 years. And the ones that drag on that like you just feel like drain you, those are the ones that you probably had a little like tickle in your stomach that was like run the other way and you didn't. So I just think you really have to start trusting yourself and like using your intuition. I know that's maybe not super helpful, but I think that's really what it comes down to for me.
That's amazing. I love that. I mean, if someone who's listening is like, I don't know what my intuition says, I think that there's an opportunity to formulate questions, to have certain questions at the ready that you would ask that will help to uncover. And I think what happens is the more you do it, the more it becomes second nature, probably too. So you maybe don't even realize you're asking certain questions to elicit a response. So you're like, okay, yeah, no, you value that. Or yeah, you're going to be trusting.
I think one of the things I always really like to ask that I think will sort of get in and I can really get a feel for the person is, how do you want this space to make you feel when it's done? And I think when my ideal client starts talking about it, they start talking about the little moments that they can imagine. Like, I just want Sundays to be relaxing and calm. And I'm saying kitchens because I feel like I've been doing a lot of kitchens lately, but it's how they respond to those questions that I think can give you those little hints, right? If they say like, oh, I just want a new kitchen because we're going to sell in a couple of years, I'm less excited about that. And I feel like it might not be exactly the type of design project that I want. But when I have a client who says, I work all day at the hospital, I'm taking care of other people, I want to come home and sit back and feel like I am in a vacation location and I just don't have a care in the world. Like that's the type of client that I seem to resonate with. Someone who really is at that point and they're ready to create a space that they can just live in without a to-do list, without any sort of stress.
I love that. I love that. You're hired. I'll hire you.
Amazing. Your house is already done though. You don't need me.
I know. I need to move to a new house though. So
I know. I'm tempted to.
I know. I think it's the curse of the trade that, you do your own house. It wasn't until I finally did my own house that I was like, okay, ready for my next one. Yeah. Like, what? I waited like 10 years to do my own house and now I'm ready to move on. Like, I love my house, but
yeah, we did our house. We redid our house when we moved in. It's been almost 15 years. I'm like, everything has to be gutted. I can't handle anything. I've been throwing things away, getting rid of furniture. I'm like, nope, none of this. Good.
Amazing. It's so funny.
It's a curse and a blessing.
I want to talk a little bit. Oh, actually, before we dive into the takeaways and the learnings and all the things that you're doing, I think it was before we hit record, you said you took the summer. You mentioned it just now that you came back for a few site visits. But I think it's worthy to note that you left your town or your city for the entire summer with your family, and you still managed to run your business. Is that something that you could have done, let's say 2 years ago?
No, definitely not. I don't even think I would have considered it as a possibility. So I'm in Connecticut and I spent the summer, we went to Florida, Ohio, and Michigan to visit family. I have multiple construction projects going on and I was able to leave and take the 5 boys with me and spend time with family. Yes, I worked remotely. It's great that I had parents that helped me. My husband also was out for a short period of time. And I have a good support system and the boys aren't babies anymore. So I was able to do it and get some work done. But I think for me, what allowed me to be able to do that, one was saying, I think it was January, I said on one of our designers room calls, I said, you know what? I really want to be able to enjoy the summer with my kids and spend more time and see family because all of our families in the Midwest. And I said in January, and I started prepping, looking at my calendar, new projects coming in. What would that look like? How would I do that? And as I was taking on new clients, I was telling everybody, I'm going to be away. We'll still have it all under control, but all of our designing has to take place and it has to be finished by this point. If construction is starting, We can do Zoom site visits, or I will come back for those, the visits that I need to be here for. And I will coordinate with the contractor to make sure that I'm here to confirm that all is going well. I think I used to think that I had to be on site every single day. I had to be on site. I had to be there and I had to just pop in or see this or that. I don't do that anymore. I am very hands-on. I'm there a lot, but I feel like I have a really good working relationship with a lot of the contractors that I work with now, that they will text me with questions. I will be calling them. I'm in communication with them daily, most of the time, with the trades and whoever else I'm working with. But I think the confidence in who you're working with is really important. I think that really shifted for me, but I also have a small but mighty team now, which is really incredible. And that's, I think, been the biggest thing for me. Knowing that even if I'm taking Wednesday and I'm doing, I do get up early, don't get me wrong. I was up at like 4:30 and I would do like 3 hours of work before the boys got up. So then I could take the morning and we could go for walks or we could get pastries and, that type of thing. But I knew that work was still getting done. I have a design assistant and I knew she was sourcing some things for me. I knew she was putting together any spec sheets that I needed. I knew that I had an extra set of hands to help. I also have been working with now, I think, oh my gosh, it's been maybe a year and a half, a designer who I met in your designer meetups group, who is now just like my right hand. Like I can't imagine doing a design without her. All of our drawings have been amazing. We've been able to really sort of step up our game with that in our presentations. And I couldn't have done this past summer without them helping me. And now having a bookkeeper, I think, is a game changer too. It sort of like eliminates that really heavy side of things. The financial part, I think, of business is so hard to wrap your head around. And so that's a new thing for me and I'm really excited about it. So I think having a small team has allowed me to do it for sure.
Yeah. Wow. I mean, girl, the last time we did the podcast, you were like, I'm thinking of hiring one person, my first person. Yeah. I'm scared.
Yeah, that didn't work out well. I wasn't ready.
It didn't work out, but that's fine. That's how it goes, right? And now you're like growing a team and you're seeing how amazing it really is when you can delegate so that you can just use your time for the tasks that you enjoy or that you need to do or be with your family. I love that. You were like breathing example of delegation.
One of the assignments that I think was so helpful for you, for us, that you gave us to do was to sort of sit down and come up with like an org chart of your business, like what you wanted your business to be. And while at that point, my name was sort of written in like every single little slot, in there, I realized that the piece that I love and enjoy the most, the piece that gives me the most energy, that really just like makes me wake up in the morning, it's the client interaction. It's working with clients, it's finding new clients, it's spending time with them and getting them through the design process. It's hand-holding them during the construction phase of it, and it's wrapping it up at the end. I think I've said this from the beginning and probably even in the last one. I want clients that we don't just do one room. We're on to the next room. We're on to the next house, where it's like a long-term relationship. I want someone who I can have a glass of wine with on the weekend, or I'm going to stay after. It's not sort of this really quick, like, let me, get you a sofa and then I never talk to you again. That's not the type of the client that I enjoy working with. I'm really in it for the long haul. So finding people that can work with me, that can do a lot of the back end stuff, allows me to be more client facing. And for me, that's what I really love to do.
I love it. Oh my gosh. Okay. So consultations now, you're charging a lot more money. They're virtual. You are able to take time away because you have a team. Tell me more. What other takeaways or transformations are you experiencing now, I guess, 2 years after taking Power of Process?
So one of the things that I realized at the beginning of this year, after talking to another one of our designers or members, is that you sort of have to, this is really important, I think, especially now with Instagram. And when you're first starting out, you can't help but feel like you're not doing enough, or you're not doing the right thing. You're comparing yourself constantly. You have to put on your blinders and you just have to do you. You have to figure out what you're all about, what you love to do, and don't worry about what every other designer in your town is doing or in your state or wherever. You really just have to focus on what works for you. I always thought I had to do, offer this service, do that, or charge that. What I've realized is it's my own business. I get to decide those things, and it can be whatever works for me. We've talked a lot about in our groups that really setting boundaries with clients and maybe not giving your text message or not working during this day or that. And I have found like I've sort of figured out my own way, right? Like the way that I want to have client relationships, we do text. I'll be at a flea market and I'll be texting clients pictures of things. Like that's sort of what I really enjoy. And so the services that I offer, like I won't do a designer for a day service. To me, I can't add as much value as I want to sort of walk someone through the process from start to finish. I am offering consulting services for people that are doing projects because I really feel like I can add value when they're going through this beginning stage of construction or decorating. They need something, we book time and we can sit down and we can knock some things off their to-do list. Not everybody can afford the investment of full service. And so I've found it really fulfilling to do some of these consulting projects and help them along the way. I think you find clients who really value your expertise that way too. So I think it's really important to figure out what works for you and what doesn't work for you, and try it out. Give your space the time to try it and fail. And early on, it's really a great opportunity to do that.
Yeah, I love that you said that, because you did try the designer for a day.
I did.
Right? I remember you sharing with our group, like, I'm doing this. Yeah. And then I don't know how much time passed. You're like, I'm not doing this anymore. And here's why. But you tried it. So you know.
Right. Exactly. I think you don't know until you do it, right? What works for Betty doesn't work for me. What works for you might not work for Betty. That's what I love about Power of Process too, kind of bringing it back, is that you will give us sort of the formula that has worked for you. You'll talk about the other things that didn't work for you. And we have so many designers in the community, and the community is huge. You know what's worked for them. You know the other ways that people are doing things. And I love that you don't leave Power of Process feeling like this is the only way that you do it. You will only be successful if you do it this way. Right. It's really about, here's the different ways you can do it. Here's what's worked best for me. And we can sort of lay the foundation for the business and then tweak and adjust as you're out there actually running the business. And that's what I've done the last couple of years.
I love that. And I love that has been your takeaway, because it's something I say all the time. Like, I really do believe there is no one size fits all to running a design business, because like you said, everyone finds their way that works. But what I think is so useful, like you just said, is to be in community with other designers to see what they're doing. And then to hear from others who've gone before you, like myself, and say, here's what works for me. Here's what didn't work. Here's what I tweaked. Here's how I said it. And it's so useful to pull all that information, not just from me, but from all the other designers, to then make your educated decision or to try something and to sort of figure out what is the best way. Because you're right. I think a lot of designers go through Power of Process and they're like, I'm just going to do exactly what Rebecca does. That looks great. It's a blueprint. It's amazing. And by all means, copy everything I do. That's the whole point of this. I don't feel competitive. Go on and prosper and grow your business bigger than mine. I think it's amazing. But then what I think happens is, once you start using a process, once you start following the checklist, doing the steps, you realize, that sort of doesn't work for me and my personality, or for me and my town, or for me and my ideal client. So I might tweak that. But I think the idea why I created Power of Process, and it sounds like this was your big takeaway, is it gives you a foundation. So it's like, okay, here's what can be done. Let's start there and then make it my own. I love that.
Yeah, I think the foundation is key, especially when you're first starting out, right? Like, having that foundation allows you to be confident, allows you to have some sort of clarity, so you can go out there and get those jobs that you've been dreaming about. If you have no foundation, you would likely step back from the jobs that you think that you can handle. And I was able to early on take on some really big projects that scared me, that I was like, oh my God, this is a big project. I haven't done this before, but I knew I had my process and my foundation, which had already been tested and tried from you for many years and other designers. And I had that sounding board that I could go back to when things were maybe a little bit off or didn't feel perfect for me. I was able to go back and get advice. I think that's also one of the good things about POP or POP, is that you have that community and like the check-ins, like you're able to run through things and sort of troubleshoot, which I really love. And then of course with Designers Room, it's the same thing. It's sort of like, the carrying on of it.
When you need help,
you need to have a foundation to have the confidence and to just push yourself.
Yeah. I love that. I love that. Any other takeaways?
I would say, I think from you, one of the biggest takeaways I've gotten, which is so important, and from other women in our group, is that it is all women, I think, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's been a few men that have taken power process, but they are very, like, maybe
Okay.
3 or 4 of the
Got
200 plus students. Yeah.
Yeah. So I would say, like, I think it's the biggest takeaway from you that I've gotten. One is to, like, lean into the woo woo a little bit, because I think it makes a difference. But it's really, it's mindset. It really is mindset. And I think right now there is this feeling, and I hear a lot of designers talking about it, like, will it slow down? Are we coming off of, like, the COVID high? And I do think there was a bit of a slowdown. I was experiencing it in the fall and the beginning of the year as well. And I remember having a conversation with one of our designers room members, and we were like, so we can panic, or we can really lean in to the fact that it's a little bit slow right now and get our mind right. And also focus on your process. Think about the relationships that you want to build. Get your client-facing documents sort of set. I think it's looking at things with a really positive light. And when you hear the little crazy voice in your mind, you need to figure out a way and learn how to quiet it down. How do you calm yourself back down and not let it derail you for a day, 2 days, a week? It really is like focusing on your mindset every single day, I think, has been the one thing that has really realigned me and kept me going. And it's also, why I can take on what I take on, because I know I'm going to panic. There's no question. I'm going to feel overwhelmed. I'm going to panic. It's going to be a lot. But I think if you can just refocus and recenter yourself because you have a positive mindset, I think that makes all the difference, especially when you're starting out.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I love that. I think it's so funny that everyone says, I'm a bit woo woo. Like, I don't feel like I'm that woo woo, but I guess if no one's ever talked to you about mindset, if no one's ever talked to you about trusting in the universe or trusting your instincts or your intuition, then it seems super woo wooey. But if you're listening right now and you're like, oh no, that sounds really interesting. It's a huge part of running a business is mindset, is trusting your intuition, not comparing yourself, like you said earlier, to those little squares on Instagram, because you are in your own lane, running your own race. It's just you. And sometimes you need to remind yourself. And I love that daily reminder. I love that idea that when things do slow, I mean, I've gone through that too. My design projects slowed right down this year. I have some really awesome design projects. And as you know, I don't want to take on more and more and more. I want to keep a small team so I can focus on the podcast and I can focus on the designer community that I'm building. But instead of panicking, I was like, well, this is really great. Now I've got that time that I keep saying I want time to do A, B, C, and D, instead of panicking and thinking, oh, that's it, it's over. Because there are always going to be ebbs and flows in this industry. And you're right. I get designers all the time messaging me saying, oh, what are you hearing? What's the word on the street? Is it slowing down? It's slowing down for me. The panic.
Right. And people say that all the time, right? Like, this business is a roller coaster. Having your own business is a roller coaster. But I don't think it has to be. I think you can reset that. It doesn't have to be a roller coaster. Don't get on the roller coaster. Like, stay on it, stay level. Like, it's a choice every day, whether you get on or you don't. So let yourself have a few minutes to panic. I definitely do. I'm not saying that I don't, but find that person that can sort of talk you off the ledge and remind you that you are amazing and that you can do it, and, like, stay in your lane. If you panic and you get on that roller coaster, it takes you away from actually getting that next client. It changes your whole frame of mind. So if you're slow, think of the 3 things that you can do that you can then focus on. It's about relationships to me. Take that time and build relationships. Not, I hate when people say networking. It's not about networking. It's relationship building. Go out there and learn about other people, learn about what they're doing, and it will come. So I love that you're talking about this networking and it's about people, because that's something that I've really started talking a lot more about lately, is this idea that when you're running a service-based business like interior design that is a higher ticket item, it is more about connecting with the people to find your clients and less about the volume of digital marketing like Instagram and LinkedIn. So hearing you say that, what strategies do you employ to find clients? So For me, I am heavy referral based from past clients, but also other professionals that I know, other realtors, other contractors. For me, I like to connect with people before I work with them, different trades, different contractors, like having coffee with someone before you're trying to bring them in for a project or before you're asking for a referral, like just literally get to know the person, I think is really important before you're, hoping they're going to pass you all these jobs, because that's just not how it works. I think I think Instagram is a great platform for this. You can connect with so many people locally and support them and like cheer them on in their business. And I think that's a great start. It's a different way of looking at it. Don't just think you're going to go to this realtor, event and you're going to all of a sudden have all these realtors sending you business. That's just not going to happen. I think you have to be willing to support people and cheer them on in their business. And I think starting in Instagram is a really great way to do that, to make connections. And then taking people for coffee, going to see their job sites, seeing what work they're doing, I think is really exciting and a great way to sort of make those connections.
I love that. And when you say on Instagram, you're talking about cheering on the other trades, right? The
Definitely.
Realtors, the people who could refer you, as opposed
Absolutely.
to a potential client that you follow on Instagram.
Exactly. And I think if you're, if you're not willing to say positive words, or you're not DMing and you're not really interested in them in real life, you're not going to make that strong connection. One of the contractors I'm working with now, I followed him for several years on Instagram. I had coffee with him before. We chatted about process. Like, I knew that when there was the right project that we could work together, I was going to try to bring him on board, because we had that relationship before. It was really nice to be able to, know that bringing him on, like, I can trust him. I know who he actually is. And I think that's important for any trade that you're working with, or any contractor. We always talk about these unicorn contractors or trades. I don't think you need one unicorn. I think you need a lot of zebras. And it's sort of like a marriage. I'm married to a contractor too, right? So I think finding the right trades and the right contractors to work with, it's not about that one who's like the end all be all. It's finding people who you really respect, you really enjoy working with. Like, going to work every day is actually fun for me. I love to go to site. I love to, chat and text with the people that I'm working with. I want to go to the shop and see how the cabinets are coming along. I think you have to work with people that you really enjoy, and you only do that by making, those connections. And they don't have to be the perfect person right now. It's like a marriage. You have to work on it. The more you work with someone, the better the communication is going to be. The more they're going to get to know your style. They're going to know what you like, what you don't like. It makes for a much easier experience. So I'm no longer like on the hunt for that, unicorn. Just got my zebras.
Okay. Let's just take a pause for a second. You heard it here first, everyone. You don't need to look for a unicorn. You just need to find a bunch of zebras. That is the best quote, Jocelyn. I love it.
Still unique and special, but
it's very true, because I know there are some designers that we know in our community that always work with the same contractor. And, and you hear that and you think, oh, shucks, why is that not me? How come I haven't found that person yet? But what I have found in my experience is that I have a handful of great contractors. No, they're not perfect, but who I work with, so that I can sort of decide which one's right for this job, right? Because they all have different personalities. They have different skill sets. And it's good to know that you're not relying on one person too.
Yeah, I think that's really important, right? Because again, for me, it's all about the clients. I want them to have a great renovation experience or decorating experience. So contractors, they're just like designers. They all have different personalities. Their work styles are different. How they keep their site is different. And every client has a different personality. So it's really important at the beginning to really figure out, when we're sort of suggesting contractors or bringing them in, who's going to be a good fit personality wise. It's not just, I only work with this one person, because that's not necessarily going to work for every client. So yeah, you need to have options for sure.
So your wisdom is coming through, Jocelyn. It is amazing. I have to say, like, as someone who's been on the sidelines with you since 2021, here we are now, like, nearing the end of 2023. And your confidence is just, it exudes confidence. Your wisdom, the way that you've taken your learnings, your life learnings, the learnings from the course, from other designers, and like, you've just really implemented. And you're obviously also very self-aware. So you're paying attention to what's working, what's not, how it affects you. Like, it's just, this is such a great episode. I hope everyone else is feeling the same way that I feel. I feel like it's so much wisdom. But we are going to run out of time soon. I can't believe it. But I guess, but before we get to the nugget of wisdom, that fun part at the end, what would you say to someone who's listening today and is like, I don't know if power of process is right for me. It seems like a big investment. What would you say to that person?
Oh gosh, I would say do it. Like you have to do it. To me, it's something I wish I would have done years and years before I did it. It's the one investment and I've made a lot of investments now in my business and a lot this year, even before photography, before branding, before the marketing. The first thing you need to do is you need to get and set your foundation for your business. It's going to attract the clients that you want to attract. It's going to give you the confidence. It's going to give you clarity when you're out on the job sites. You have to do it. You can't do anything without a foundation. So it's the first place to start. And I think it's far under, like, the value that you get from it is amazing. It's the one investment that you can make work. You have to invest in order to, get on the right path.
And I think that's a great reminder, because all of us who are growing our businesses are continually investing, whether it's in photography, whether it's in coaches, whether it's in courses, whether it's in going to High Point Market, right? Those are all investments in you and your business. And if you don't spend a little bit of money to learn and get in front of the right people, or to learn about product, to learn about business, then your business is not going to grow as fast. It just won't.
That's right.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, this has been amazing. I'm so excited for you and your journey. Is there any other anything that we didn't talk about that you wanted to mention? And do you have a nugget?
Okay. So my nugget would be to set expectations with yourself, with your clients, and with your trades and contractors or anyone you work with. I think setting expectations for yourself is what is going to get you through sort of those slumps or those times that you don't feel great. Don't try to overdo it, right? I knew this year I had these certain goals that I was going to make. The expectation was do X, Y, and Z. So when I feel like I'm off, I can go back to what I expect of myself and what I'm going to do. With clients, the same thing. I want everything to be roses and rainbows every day. That's not reality. So don't set yourself up to fail, especially when you're early on, thinking just because you have a process, it's going to go as planned. Things are going to go off the rails, and you need to prepare your clients for that. For your trades, don't be afraid, even when you're newer in the business, to let them know ahead of time what you expect, the level of detail that you want, the type of communication that you want. That took me a lot longer than it should have to really set forth. And I think it's so important. It's just setting expectations.
Absolutely. I love that. Wise words. Setting expectations is everything. And setting expectations for yourself sounds like almost like setting mini goals, right?
Exactly. Mini goals. Because it's really easy as a business owner to just want to do it all and think, okay, if I can just do these 10 things, then I'm going to be golden. I always think that if I can just have the right branding, have the right marketing, do this, it's just not realistic. So setting the expectation of what you're going to do, these mini goals, these mini milestones. And when you get to the next, then focus on the other one. Otherwise you'll just get overwhelmed, and then you will panic and get on the roller coaster.
Don't get on the roller coaster.
Don't get on the roller coaster.
So funny, because we're trying to find a day to take my kids to Canada's Wonderland, which is like our theme park here in Toronto, and they've never been before. And like my daughter's desperate to go on roller coasters, and I hate roller coasters.
Oh yeah.
And so it's so fitting that you're talking about don't get on the roller coaster. And I'm like, don't worry, I certainly will not.
As long as it's not a wooden roller coaster. I feel like wooden roller coasters are literally the worst.
Well, there was that news that came out, I don't know what city it was in, where those people were stuck hanging upside down for like 3 hours. Like, what? Why would you even risk it? Why would, like, the thrill must be so amazing. I can't. No, not interested.
I've skydived and I've gone on roller coasters. I've done all the things, and I have the least amount of desire to go on a roller coaster.
At least you've tried them. I haven't even tried it. I'm like, nope. I just know that is like too much risk for me. Oh my goodness, Jocelyn, thank you so much for joining us today on the podcast. I know that everyone's going to find this really valuable. Can you please let everyone know where they can find and follow you?
So I would say we're most active on Instagram at August Oliver Interiors. So you can visit along on all the crazy.
Follow along on all your journeys. And Jocelyn has a great Instagram account. She shares tons behind the scenes. If you're into footwear, you're going to enjoy her posts where she shares all about her Rothy's addiction. I'm still surprised that you are not an ambassador for that brand. It's going to happen. I can't
believe it either. I have
you
a
must
lot
own
of
every
them.
pair that they make.
I have a lot. I won't even tell you how many.
Okay. Thank you so much, lady, for coming on the podcast.
Thanks for having me.
Wow, guys, I'm a little speechless. I'm totally blown away by the progress that Jocelyn has made in her business in just the last 2 years. It just goes to show how when you are ready to level up and invest in your business and do the work, big frickin' changes can happen. I mean, holy heck, look at her with her virtual consultations, with her new office studio. I don't even know if we talked about that online. We talked about it offline. She's just moving to her second studio. So if you listen to the first episode with Jocelyn of my podcast, it was episode 101. And it was about the biggest 12-year transformation. And we talk about in episode 101, the transformation that she makes in her business immediately following taking power of process. And so if you're curious to hear, Jocelyn from a year ago, please go and listen to that. And Jocelyn, if you're listening now, I think it'd be fun to have you back every year and just like track your growth and trajectory to inspire other designers to see what's possible, because that's what this is all about. Having this podcast is about sharing tips, tricks, but also the stories of other badass women, you know it, like Jocelyn, who are really making strides. Thank you, Jocelyn, for coming on and sharing your wisdom, your true wisdom, and some of the specific things that you do in your business with all of us. I can't wait to follow your journey as you grow and hopefully see you at High Point Market in person. And guys, if you really loved this episode, you are definitely going to want to check out Power of Process, because that's how Jocelyn's transformation all began. It is truly the blueprint, the foundation for interior design business. It is going to give you that community of other designers, just like Jocelyn talked about, where you can bounce ideas, learn, even if it's just a fly on the wall and you hear how someone else handled a situation with a client or how they're organizing their sample library. Like, there's so much power in sharing. And I think now more than ever, if things are a little bit slower, or if you're a little bit nervous about finances, this is the time to really get clear on who it is you want to serve, who is that ideal client, and how are you going to serve them and connect with them. Power of Process is the best investment you can make in your design business. You will recoup your $1,697 investment within, I would imagine, the first month, if not the first couple of months. Because as soon as you start to get encouraged, have a process, see from other designers what's possible, you will charge more money. You'll be more confident. And ultimately, you will start making more money in your design business. I keep seeing it over and over and over again. The power of process is powerful. So if you guys are really curious, you want to learn more, you can go check it out at RebeccaHay.com/power of process. I'm sure Jocelyn would answer any of the questions that you might have. You can send her a DM on Instagram at August Oliver Interiors. And of course, I'm always a DM away. Like, I live on my phone, guys. Send me a DM. If you're like, I don't know, is Power of Process for me? Ask me. I'll give you my honest opinion and my honest advice. And if it's not for you this time around, it'll come back. But if your heart is telling you you need to make a step in the right direction, if your heart is telling you it's time, or you've been looking for a sign, well, heck, if Jocelyn's episode wasn't proof enough that major transformation can happen, then I don't know what is. This is your sign. Today is your day. Take charge of your business. This is the best time of year. It's back to school. It is a great time for renewal. And truthfully, I'm so excited about this cohort
because we completely updated the course. We've added new lessons and modules, and we've extended it from 6 to 8 freaking weeks. 8 weeks of support. We've added an entirely new module. We've actually renamed some of the modules. We were trying to give you the best transformation. So I know that POP OGs like Jocelyn are going to be blown away by all the new content. And lucky you for joining at the right time to get access to all the brand new goodies. All right. That's where it stands. Send me a DM. Let me know if you're going to join me inside Power of Process this fall. The doors open September the 26th and we'll be closing enrollment October the 4th and welcoming in our brand new cohort. So, will I see you there? Thanks for listening. I'll see you soon.